Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Andrew E. Guy. Welcome to another episode of the ILIRPODCAST. It is a podcast that's dedicated for those who are on the go. I'm excited about this episode today. I am having this conversation with none other than the Mayor of Cornwall, Ontario, Miss Bernadette Clement. The conversation that we're about to have is absolutely profound. A little bit more about Miss Clement. Miss Clement, she was elected to City Council in 2006 and re-elected in 2010 and then again in 2014. And in 2018, she ran for mayor and became the first woman to hold such position in the history of Cornwall in the 235 years of history of Cornwall, Ontario. Ms. Clements is a current board member of the Kinsmen Community Residence, and she has been involved with a number of community agents. With over 27 years of experience in legal services, she served as the executive director of what is now known as Clinique Jurisdique Roy McCarthy Legal Clinic.
It's the moment you've been waiting for. It's a conversation that must be had today and not tomorrow. Welcome to another episode of I'm Listening, I'm Ready with your host, Andrew E. Guy. Let's talk about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Andrew E. Guy. Welcome to another episode of the ILIRPODCAST. That's right. I am listening. I am ready. It is the podcast that's dedicated for those who are on the go. Whether you're traveling by land, air, or sea, this is me, Andrew E. Guy in the MORNING. Truly, you know that I'm excited because every week we bring the thunder, we bring the energy, we bring you the news and all the great things that are disrupting the nation as we speak. I am so excited right now. I can't even sit on my chair. And that is an understatement because the individual that I am speaking with today, oh my goodness, I'm talking about a pioneer. I'm talking about a young lady who has done things that no other has done before. She is the first Black woman to ever hold the position of mayor of any municipality in all of Ontario. I am talking about none other than Mayor of Cornwall, Ontario, Miss Bernadette Clement. So, ladies and gentlemen, the conversation is going to be amazing. So, I just want to get into this like right now. If you're ready, let's do this thing. All right, Miss Clement, please say hi to the people. How you doing?
Hello, I am now excited after that introduction. I'm going to try and match my energy to yours, okay?
No, I think you got it, mate. I really think you got it, mate. You don't have to try. You're already doing it. Oh, my goodness. I'm so excited. How are you and what's going on in Cornwall?
Oh, I mean, that's such a big question. Things are good,
Yes.
but it has been a time. It has
Wow.
been a difficult time. And the people in Cornwall have been patient and tough and resilient and sad and
Wow.
angry and frustrated, but also helpful and
Yes.
supportive. They've been everything.
Wow.
And I think that they're ready now for the next chapter of how do we get out of this? How do we come back together after missing each other for so long?
You know what's exciting, though, is that it seems like a marriage that has taken a break, and now we have to get back together again, and we now have to go back to start courting again. So it's almost like, okay, there was a breakup, and now there's a makeup, and I'm speaking globally. How do we bridge the gap to help people to start trusting again? Because I think trust is going to be the big factor. How are you guys handling the trust factor up there in Cornwall?
Well, I mean, we're working on the trust that we built up for years, right?
Correct.
So as a municipality, as a community, we are people who help out, who fundraise, who, we punch above our weight in terms of how we volunteer and how we donate.
Right.
So there's been that trust that's built in, and we're going to build on that. how do we gradually get back into things? I think we're going to have to respect each other's pace around this, you know? So the patios reopened and the stores reopened on Friday, and there were lineups and people were excited, but some people were not. Some people were still sort of thinking, I want to take my time here, with how quickly we start going back into the courting phase. So I think we're going to have to be very mindful of everybody's different comfort levels, and we're going to have to go easy. Some of us will jump for joy. Some of us will remain a little bit nervous and fearful. And I think we'll have to be respectful of everyone's pace around this. Yeah.
And speaking of respect, I think that kind of lends itself to the next question because, as a speaker that deals with diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's almost like now the pot has been boiling, right? And now it's now melted, hence the melting pot of Canada. So now as the melting occurs or reoccurring, how do we build that trust level? How or what steps do you guys have in place to rebuild that trust level? And as we said, it's almost like a marriage that was put on pause and now we're courting again. How do we build that trust level to say, you know what? It is the same person I have known for 20, 30 years. It's the same neighbor, but I haven't seen them in over 2 years. How do I start over again to let them know, hey, I still trust you, but there's some issues that we're going to have to deal with to get back to that level of comfort again? How are you guys managing that?
Well, it's all about it's about transparency.
Right.
It's about conversation, and it's about showing up. I think that, if you show up and you show up for the discomfort, the pain, not just for the good times, right? If you show up in conversation, if you um, stay present, I think that that goes a long way. This last year, with the renewal of, for example, Black Lives Matter, with the news of the terrorist attack in London, Ontario, with the news of the remains of the 215 Aboriginal children found in Kamloops, I mean, these are such painful, powerful things that have happened during this pandemic. But in a way, the pandemic has meant that we lean into some of these conversations. And I think we need to keep doing that. We have done that, and we need to keep showing up. If you show up, people can disagree. But if you're there in the conversation, willing to have that back and forth, then people will trust that. But you can't back away from the difficult conversations.
I absolutely love the way you put that. We have to show up. There's a concept that I use when I do talks, and I said there are people that look out the window, and then there are people that spend time in the mirror. The mirror is that personal conversation, getting to know yourself, your ins and out, your expertise, and what you're good at and what your talents are. But the window is you watching the crowd. And so showing up is being involved in the conversation. You are moving through this together. And when I say two, back in the day, we say this means a peace sign. And it's not about a fighting about, color and or race, which we shouldn't be running. I always believe that we should take the cancer out of a race so we can run together, right? Just do the surgery and get it done, right? But I think that as we move through this, we are learning more about each other and how similar we are than the differences that keep us apart. This includes COVID-19, because COVID-19 is the biggest disruption that has happened in our generation. Speaking of which, it's the disruption that's causing people to value family more than they've ever done before.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that it's been a tough couple of months for you, right? How are you managed in terms of, I know you have responsibilities and the leadership and so forth, but how are you managed? Because I know that, you've lost a family member, and a lot of people have lost in this trilogy of the COVID. How are you managing?
I'm trying to live in a place of gratitude. I that's where I have to stay. Leadership has been very difficult
Oh gosh.
because people are not feeling at their best. They're angry, they're sad, they're disappointed. So it's to it's to also share. So when mom died in March, I was very open about that with people. I was very transparent about how difficult that was, how difficult it was to grieve at this particular time in history without all of the usual comforts. um, it's important to talk about mental health and how you're doing. And I think that if you show up in a way that is genuine, then you can, what you get back also is genuine, right? And you can sort of more understand people's pain, and that and not take everything as personally. Like when pain is coming at you, there might be a reason for it. It may not have anything to do with you. It may have to do with their pain. And so you have to sort of tap into your empathy. um yeah, I think it's just, and trying to be grateful for the fact that I get to do this now.
Oh, I love
People
that.
have said to me, your timing is terrible, Bernadette, but okay. That wasn't the plan, to be
Right.
mayor during a pandemic, but it's given me an opportunity to have conversations I've never
Yes.
had before,
Yes.
to be brave,
Yes.
opportunities to be brave. And
Yes.
so I'm grateful that I've had those opportunities and I've taken them, that I have the support that I have. So it's to try and stay in the place of gratitude rather than fear and anxiety. Yeah.
I absolutely love the way you put that. I think people live in that space of fear and intrepidation that they really don't develop the resiliency to get through the storm. And they're wondering, how is it going to get better when they should have been dealing with the now? Let's survive now. Do not worry about what's happening tomorrow or 10 weeks from now. Let's get through today. And I love the way you put that. And I think that gratitude is basically a difference between two letters. You can show up with a bad attitude, or you can put that GR in front of your attitude and be, and turn it into gratitude. And I think that just being grateful, considering what has happened throughout the globe, so to speak, and what is happening right now in different parts of the world, you can say, knock on wood, wow, I'm so grateful for the ability to breathe fresh air. So I'm excited about this conversation. I know that we touched on some personal things and we touched on about leadership. But the next part that I want to talk about right now are there anything exciting that is going on up there in Cornwall that the world needs to know about? Now, I'm telling you, Miss Clement, this is the ILA podcast. It means I'm listening and I'm ready. And it's for people on the go, right? I know that people are just itching and they're ready to get out of the gate and just go. So what plans do you have that's going on up there in Cornwall? By that expression on your face, I know something is going on. Tell us what's going on up there in Cornwall.
So you know what? Cornwall is, it's such a beautiful place, and we have a beautiful geography, right? We're right along the mighty St. Lawrence River.
I got to come up there one day.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And so we're a city of 47,000 people, and we've got, a long history. We are 235 plus years old. So that's one of the oldest municipalities in Ontario. We forget sometimes that we have that history, and when we remember it, we think, oh yeah, we are more resilient than we think. We have an industrial past, and now we're moving into, like many other cities, looking into diversifying our economy, looking towards the environment and our river to redefine ourselves. And one of the great things in this area is the partnership that we have with the Mohawk people of Akwesasne.
Oh, could you
So
talk
we
about
are,
this? Tell us
yeah.
about that. Yes.
So we are friends and neighbors with Mohawk Council of Akwesasne, the people of Akwesasne. They're right across the river from us.
Wow.
And we now have a unique project. So the federal government gave us, they divested the port in
Yes.
Cornwall to both the city of Cornwall and this First Nation, the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne. It's unique in Canada for a port and waterfront property to be co-owned 50-50 with a First Nation and a municipality. So the
Mm.
federal government gave us this years ago and said, okay, let's see what you're going to do with this. And so this past couple of years has been really important for us. We broke bread together as councils
Oh,
for
this
the
sounds
first
so
time,
good.
in 10 years. And we have been meeting now regularly since to develop in partnership some vision around this property. So there are friends and neighbors. There are also our economic partners.
You know what's amazing? Even though COVID has happened and we're still going through it, what you're doing is mimicking this getting back to what we call normalcy, right? You're breaking bread with the First Nation people. You're partnering with them to let them know, listen, we're in this 50-50. We're brothers and sisters. You're doing some first time things that's never been done before, young lady. This is amazing. And I'm so glad that we have the opportunity to sit down and talk about this. My goodness, Cornwall, here I come. I have got to come and visit and see what's going on up there.
Oh,
I'm
definitely.
telling you, it is
Definitely.
amazing. This is, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to me for the first time, this is Andrew E. Guy sitting down talking, almost breaking bread with the first Black woman and the first Black mayor, female mayor of Cornwall, Miss Bernadette Clement. I mean, the conversation is thick right now. I'm telling you a little bit about Miss Bernadette. She was born in Montreal, where her father and mother, sister and brother, as well as her nieces and nephew, still live. She is very proud of the fact that her mother grew up in Manitoba as a Francophone, and her father is a real Trini. That's right. I gotta meet that guy, real Trini. And as a result, reflect both Canada's diversity as well as its English and French linguistic duality. I am excited. You've got to go and check her out to find out what's happening. She's doing some amazing things up there in Cornwall. I'm telling you, this is the conversation that must be had today. Now, the next part of the conversation we're talking about, Ms. Clemens, is race. How does Cornwall stack up again on the topic of race in comparison to other areas or regions in Ontario?
So it's really interesting because we are small town Ontario, right? And you can have all kinds of perceptions around small town Ontario,
Correct.
but there's a lot going on in places outside of Toronto and Ottawa, right? And there is a growing diversity in our city. We have a diversity that was there before, right? Because don't forget, we have Akwesasne, but we also have a significant Francophone population, probably about 20% Francophone. And we have, a long history of working together in those differences. So, I have to tell you, when I campaigned for mayor back in 2018, the question of my race and my gender did not come up. In fact, I was advised not to really talk about that and to really run a traditional municipal campaign. So I did that. And so during the campaign, we talked about, infrastructure and parks and transit and all the traditional taxes, all the traditional municipal things. And the night of the election, I said, well, so here's my heritage. I'm really proud of it. It's part of, what makes me who I am. And then all the media went crazy saying, wait a minute, are you the first woman mayor of Cornwall? Yes. Are you the first Black woman mayor in Ontario? So all of that stuff came out afterwards. And people in Cornwall sat there and watched those interviews and said, but we just elected Bernadette. Right. So it really, it's interesting that that conversation didn't take place. It's not that there isn't diversity and that we don't have conversations. We do, but it wasn't part of my campaign. I think I might do things differently now, of course, because the world has changed in the last year. We have leaned into, and here in Cornwall as well, we've leaned into those conversations around race, Indigenous issues. This last attack in London, Ontario has, broken the hearts of the many, many people in Cornwall who are of the Muslim faith. So now our community is leaning into these conversations, and it's not easy, eh? This stuff is hard.
Wow.
This stuff is hard. So I'm not saying that we are having an easy time of it. You know, our police force it was very difficult for our police force to watch the community
Yes.
lean into a Black Lives Matter conversation, right? And it was hard for them not to be defensive. And so we don't want to have conversations in defensive places. So we're trying. Many different organizations are trying to have conversations, and as a community, we're trying to do this. But I don't want to sugarcoat this. It's hard.
Wow. Love the way you put that. The fact that your campaign wasn't a race driven or founded upon the foundation of race and division, but you talked about what mattered. Right. And a lot of time we get stuck on, the black of the hand or the white of the palm, but we forget the power of the arm to lift the person up to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you focus on, let's talk about taxes. Let's talk about things that matters, what affects our people moving forward. I love that. And a lot of times if we focus on the needs, the wants, and the pain points of our people, we have a better chance of bringing everyone to the table as opposed to creating a division based on what we look like. Because I've heard it once said before, it's not what your haircut looks like, it's what's inside that counts. Absolutely love that. Now, you said that you would change something. What would you change now? Knowing what you know now versus then, what would you change now, moving forward? And what would you advise someone who would be the first black or the first male, black, whatever, a first person moving forward, if that were to happen? What kind of advice would you give them?
So there's a couple of things. Being the first is hard because you want to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason you want to be perfect is because you're not going to be the last.
Right.
We heard Kamala Harris say that when she accepted that she was going to be the first black Southeast Asian black woman vice president, that she would not be the last person in that role. And so as the first, you just don't want to mess it up, because you want others like you, that look like you, or that might see themselves reflected in you. You don't want to discourage them. So you have to sort of not carry all of that weight on your shoulders and lean into the fact that people are inspired by you being the first, right? So in my municipal campaign, the one where I ran for mayor, and I didn't talk about race, in a way, little girls kind of wanted me to, a little bit at times, right? Women wanted me to, because when I would door knock, that's what, if a young girl answered or a woman answered, they were excited that I might potentially be the first. So I think I would do things differently in that I wouldn't completely shy away from the topic. And I don't think I should. I think I should say it's part of who I am. It's part of the values that I have. It also gives me a comfort with complexity, right?
Absolutely love it. And I think it's showing up, as you say, leaning into it. As we lean into it, is you're bringing that whole individual. This is all of me. Comes with my history, comes with my accent, come with everything. This is me. This is who you get. And I absolutely love that, because a lot of people play the political campaign trail as this is what I'm going to offer. But the real me, you don't want to meet. So I absolutely love it. And I think that there are benefits to that. And it not only does it inspire others who look like you, but it also gives them a platform to begin dreaming that this is actually possible and this could actually happen to me. So just owning it and leaning into it, as you said, is another way of inspiring those, because you're not living for yourself, you're living for those who are actually coming behind you. So I'm excited. Now, I wanted to talk about some of the changes that you're making moving forward as we're getting out of COVID, or everyone is coming back into the comfort zone. What are some of the other projects? I know we talked about the major one, the waterfront, with your First Nation people and your brothers and sisters. Now, you mentioned something earlier on about the downtown and the small business and supporting them. How are you doing that differently as opposed to the Torontos or everywhere else?
So I mean, small towns are famous for having people that know each other.
Right.
So we know our small business owners. We know them by name. They know us. We miss them in a way that is very personal. So we want to support, and we have two downtowns. We have Le Village, parce qu'on est une ville avec une
Oh,
histoire
I just love the
francophone.
way you say that. Love the way you
Yeah.
said that. I gotta work on my French. I gotta work on it.
So we have Le Village and we have our downtown area. So we have two downtowns, and those areas are particularly unique. They are how we define ourselves as communities. Our
Yes.
downtowns really reflect who we are. So we want to make sure that people are okay, that they're back. So we're going to look at closing streets, and that's always a bit controversial because the car tends to take up a lot of room in our cities.
Correct. Correct.
So we're trying to be supportive of creating safe spaces where outdoor patios can have more space, where people can focus on outdoor dining and maybe shopping and supporting small businesses. So we're going to try and be a little bit more flexible around how we manage our downtown spaces as a municipality in terms of allowing street closures. Now we are now engaging in all of this, so it's going to show up at our next council meeting, and we're getting feedback from different downtown businesses so that we get some, buy-in and create some spaces where there's atmosphere and people wanting to safely come together to shop and support downtown businesses.
What are some of the challenges you're experiencing now? You coming back together again because we talked earlier on. This is almost like the welcome home, right? It's back in I went to a school in southern Arkansas, so I'm familiar with small towns, right? Magnolia, Arkansas. So when you talk about small town, that came back to me. Everyone knew everyone, right? So the thing is now we have this thing that we do every year called homecoming. This is like a homecoming. How is the town feeling about this homecoming? How do you guys, are you dressing up the town? What's happening?
Yeah, and I mean, it's June, so it's LGBTQ plus.
Mhm.
It's Pride Month, so there's that. It's also Indigenous History Month in June.
Wow.
It's also Seniors Month. So the June is huge in terms of speaking to so many demographics.
Yes.
So we're celebrating. We're doing flag raisings. We're doing mural artwork. We started the farmers market in our downtown park. So there's lots of things to bring people outside.
Yes.
That's the focus. We're still not comfortable being inside, and the rules still are not allowing for that. So the focus is on getting our pools open,
Yes.
making sure that they're properly staffed, having our splash pads in place. So it's a lot of focus on outdoors.
Wow. Did you ever dream you'd be doing this at this time right now? Because you're handling it so well. Do you hear what I'm saying? You're wearing this well. And being the first sister to do this, I am so proud of you. I'm telling you, I feel so proud. I'm gonna let my mom watch this episode, and
Oh, really?
she is going to be tickled. You hear what I'm saying? So I'm excited and I have respect for your time because I know that you are a lady in demand. But I want to do one of the things that we normally do on our show. We call it Think, Fire, and Shoot. And it is a quiz that we do. We give our guests and we give them 1 minute and we ask them 4 questions and they got only 15 seconds to answer this, right? So 15 seconds, 4 questions. So here we go. We're going to start off with Think, Fire, Shoot. You're going to come on, you're going to say your name and what you do and where you're from. And then we're going to begin Think, Fire, Shoot. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Andrew E. Guy. Welcome to another episode of Think, Fire, Shoot on the ILIRPODCAST. It's a podcast that's dedicated for those who are on the go. We're sitting down, we're talking, we're hanging out, and we're having this amazing conversation with the first Black woman Mayor of Cornwall, Ontario. An exciting conversation right here. And now it's time for Think, Fire, Shoot. She's now on the hot seat. She gets 4 questions. She gets 15 seconds per question. And we are going to see what she is going to do because I know she's got this. All right. Are you ready? Mayor, say your name and where you're from and what you do. Go ahead.
Bernadette Clement. I am the mayor of Cornwall, Ontario. I'm also a legal aid lawyer with the legal clinic system, and I love where I live.
All right. Okay, so our first question begins this. It says, challenge. Challenge. Why do so many people fear challenge? Ready, clock, go.
Because you don't want to fail, because ego can get in the way. So you need to channel bravery. But I think that the challenge and fearing challenge is about worrying about failing.
Worrying about failing. Woo! 13.67 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to turn up the heat. I don't think the stove is hot enough. I don't think the stove is hot enough. We got to turn it up a little bit. Oh my goodness. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here's the next question. The next question is simply this. Now, we talked about past, present, and future. And one of the conversation I've been having with my guests is how we deal and transition through challenges, right? Now coming out of COVID and moving forward. So the statement I made in a book that's coming up, it says this: for those people who are on the highway of life, we spend so much time staring in the rearview mirror, when on the highway of living, we should be focusing on the windshield ahead. What say she? Ready, go.
Yes. So you know what? The past is important because you got to learn. So you gotta. That's where you get your, your resilience and your competence. But yeah, moving forward, you have to lean into the future, and you have to have confidence in love and gratitude.
Mm, mm, mm. Ladies and gentlemen, 21.4 seconds. I mean,
Uh-oh.
it's absolutely wonderful, but I believe that we'll credit.
These questions are big.
Hey,
50
we have
seconds.
to credit these to our future parents. So we'll just minus this and add it to the next one, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So
Okay.
last two question. When people say you can't because of what you look like, where you come from, you can't. What do you say to anyone who tell a little black girl say that they can't? What would you say to that person? Go.
Wrong. You're wrong. You can. And you can because of who you are.
Oh my goodness.
Because
7.5
of who you are.
seconds.
That's the beauty of why you can.
And lastly, if you were to give advice to anyone across Canada or the world as we speak, what would be your top 3 life lessons that you would give that individual that they can hang their future on? 3 life lessons that you've learned that will help them, because you're carrying a lot and you have done a lot. 3 life lessons. Ready, go.
Show up. Just keep showing up and do everything from a place of love. Everything. And gratitude. So show up, love, gratitude.
14.24 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, she crushed it. Absolutely crushed it, as I know she would. You know she's representing. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Andrew E. Guy. I want to thank my guest, my special guest, all the way out there from Cornwall, Ontario. You are listening to Andrew E. Guy and the first Black female mayor of Cornwall, Ontario, Miss Bernadette Clement. Any final words you'd like to add, Ms. Clemens? I'm going to put you on the big screen and I'm going to let you have your final words, and just want to say thank you for being here with us. Any final words? Ready and go.
I'm just really happy for this conversation. I love your energy and I think you're really quite talented in terms of the questions. So I'm just grateful that that you invited me and that we were able to have this really positive conversation.
Warms my heart. Oh, my heart. Ms. Clay, I want to say thank you for hanging out with us. We wish you all the best. I'm looking so much forward to joining you in Cornwall one of
Yes.
these days. I have to come and hang out with you right there and check out this project with the First Nation people. Thank you so much for your time. You have yourself a fantastic rest of the day and the rest of the evening. Okay?
too.
Thank
See
you
in
so
Cornwall.
much.
See you
Yes,
in
ma'am.
Cornwall.
Until then, take care. Peace.
Until next time, keep listening, live ready, talk soon.